Drowning, a word that no one wants to hear. And today we are sharing life-saving information. So parents, grab your kids, the neighbors, and anyone else. This is a must-watch episode. The Whitney Reynolds Show is supported by Children's Learning Place, excellence in early childhood education since 1998, educating Chicago's children for 20 years. And the Auto Barn Mazda of Evanston and Chicago, the Auto Barn Mazda, where driving matters. Special thanks to the Illinois chapter of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, Dr. Daftari and the team at Art of Modern Dentistry, Kevin Kelly with Jameson Sotheby's International Realty, STI Movers, Mazda, Chicago Andrea Creative, and Cellular Intelligence. Drowning is the second leading cause of unintentional injury-related death among children ages 14 and under. We are talking drowning prevention. You're watching The Whitney Reynolds Show. Our first guest's worst nightmare came true when she got a call that her daughter was being revived after a swimming incident and she needed to go to the hospital. With very little details, she put on a brave face and is here today to share the story. So we have everyone on the edge of their seats. They're hearing your story. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. Today's show is powerful. And you are a mom that's lived through today's topic, and you actually have a good side to it. So walk us back through that day.
Okay, I work from my home, and I'm a computer programmer, and so I was working with someone in New York on the computer, and I get a phone call from my sitter, and I didn't answer it. And then she called again, and I go, okay, sorry, I have to take this call real quick. And then I got the call. She was very frantic and I didn't know what was going on. And then she told me that my daughter had almost drowned and had to go to the hospital. And I really couldn't comprehend anything that was going on. When she dropped that on me, you kind of go into shock. And so I don't even know what I said to my coworker. I probably just hung up on the phone and I got the keys in my car and drove to the hospital.
So when you got the call, it was one of those kind of shocking moments for you because you have no idea, one, is she okay? What happened? Where are my other kids?
Right.
And to hear a near drowning, I mean, that is literally every parent's worst nightmare. And they have gone to the pool before.
Right. And the crazy thing was that when my sitter decided to go to the pool, it's at my mom's condo. And when I told my mom, she goes, that sounds like a terrible idea. And I go, you're crazy, it'll be fine. And so that even hit harder when I heard, oh my gosh, my mom knew, that something wasn't gonna be right. But yes, it was my worst nightmare. However, I was in shock and I didn't know what to expect or think about it.
So you get to the hospital, and what is the first thing that happens when you get through the doors?
Okay, so I go straight to go to the ER, and I'm like, my daughter, she almost drowned, she's here. And then I knew the hospital very well, so I just ran back there, and I hear this baby crying out of one of the rooms that they said she was in. And I thought, that's not Haley, that's a baby. It's not Haley, she's 3. But I go in there, and you're just overwhelmed.
How old was she at the time you
3.
said? So she was 3.
She just turned 3.
Which is still really young
Right.
if you think about it
Right.
from a perspective of a kid.
Right.
And so all the doctors are around her. When did they tell you what happened that day? Because I want to walk our viewers back through
Yes.
what led to what happened.
So right when I got there, I saw her, and then real quickly after that, all of the the police officers and the first responders came out to me, and they're bawling, crying, and I'm like, I'm still in shock, but I'm like, why are they crying? You know, like,
Yeah.
And one of them was the one who first came and was the first responder there, also had a daughter the same age as my daughter, and they were telling me how, you know, usually it never ends like this, and then they started telling me how brave my son is and how great he is and how I should buy him an Xbox. And I'm like, what is going on? What do you mean? And then they told me the story of what happened. And they explained to me that the kids were all swimming over in the deep end because there were no lifeguards at this pool because it was a private pool. And my sitter was standing with my daughter on the stairs going in. And Haley at that point really didn't try to go anywhere else, so it was pretty safe, so you thought.
Right.
And the kids were doing cannonballs, and they asked Kristen to take a picture. And so Kristen stood up and took a picture of Sam doing a cannonball, and within that 20 seconds, I guess, she went under. And I can't even, I mean, it kills me that I wasn't there to help her, you know, like
Right.
as a mom.
That's what I was gonna say, as a mom, like you wanna be that person all the time that's there.
Right, right. And so then Sam went right away and pulled her out.
And Sam's your son.
Yes, yes.
And so he immediately saw what was happening, that she was underwater. And like you said, it can happen so quick.
Right, and I think she must have ingested water because I think that's probably why it was so tragic. Because if she was just under there for that long, it wouldn't have been as bad. And so he took her out, and then Kristen was telling him what to do. I think she was freaking out.
In shock,
yes.
yeah. It's interesting because we always think we'll react certain ways, but we really don't know what's going to happen in crisis until we're there.
Right.
And so your son just started doing compressions from that point on?
Kristen, I think, first started doing it and then told him to do it so she could take care of the other girls too, and she could call 911. And so then Sam was doing compressions and saying the Hail Mary because he's a good Catholic boy. And yeah, he saved her. I mean, he saved her life.
That is incredible. And so the first responders came. They brought Haley into the hospital.
They had to work on her. She was starting to get blue, and they had to get some of the water out of her.
Wow.
And so then they did that, and then they brought her into the hospital.
And when they got her into the hospital, was it something that was still life or death at this point?
I think they had to worry to make sure there was no brain damage. And yeah, it is. I think it's 20. Yeah.
As a mom, I'm just like taking this all in, thinking, I don't even know how you can relive this story right now.
Because I feel so happy. I mean, it's turned out happy. She turned out great. So it's a terrible thing, but she turned out okay.
Right.
But yes, it's after drowning, it's 24 hours. They have to make sure because you can have a dry drowning. So that was awful. So she got transferred to an ICU because our hospital doesn't have a pediatric ICU.
Was your son in some type of aftershock too? What was it like for him?
Well, my nanny and my son were both very traumatized by it. And so, but the first responders there were awesome, and they followed him home. I think they went and got ice cream. And, you know, he's a pretty humble kid. So he didn't like necessarily talking about it or taking the credit for it. I think he almost felt embarrassed by it and not realizing how proud and happy we were that life would have been a lot different if he wasn't there.
Did he know CPR before then?
No.
Or had he even ever done anything like this prior?
No. I mean, he's always been a great kid, and I'm not surprised that he would take those actions, but he was only 11 years old.
11.
Right.
And she was 3.
Right.
That is just mind-boggling to me. The story timeline just of her being, 20 seconds away taking a picture. And that's the thing, is it can happen so fast. What would you want parents to know that have young kids?
Always have a life jacket on or those floaties on, always.
So you would say that?
I would absolutely say that. I feel stupid and guilty that I didn't enforce that in myself. I think because she was my 4th child, you get more lax and you don't worry as much, but always, because she would have been fine if she had those on.
I didn't even think about the floaty component because we've been, as we were doing research on this show, like CPR, life-saving techniques, but really there are some things you can do leading up to that, like the floaties.
Right. And then speaking of CPR, I highly recommend go learn CPR. It's not hard to learn. It's all over and it saves lives.
Just in case. And there's actually a lot of online, I would always say,
go ahead if you can learn the professional way and take a
Right.
little course, go ahead and do that. But there are so many videos online too,
Right.
just to have it in your tool belt in case you ever need it.
And I believe that's what Kristen did when it was happening. I think she looked up, you did on YouTube CPR.
Wow, and he just started doing it.
Right.
And that's ultimately what saved your daughter's life.
Staying alive.
Did the first responders say that? Like, did they say, like, without your son,
Oh my
she
gosh.
would not be here?
Absolutely. They actually honored him about a month later and gave him a hero award and credited him to saving her life, which he absolutely did. And now they are so close. And he won't admit it, but there's a bond I can see as a mom between the two of them that is very special, which is like a little silver lining from the whole thing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. We're going to have your kids here. The hero himself is going to be on the show, and we're going to get to meet little Haley.
Yes, thank you.
That day has changed this family's life forever. Sam, 11 years old at the time, became a hero after jumping in and saving his sister. He joins us now with more. Welcome to the show, Sam.
Hi.
You
Yeah.
are the hero of the year. Oh my goodness. What was that day like for you?
It was really nerve-wracking. It was really hard to think straight. And I know I didn't really want to go to the hospital to see Haley. I just knew she was okay. I just was really sad. Didn't want to see her. But then the next day I was really happy to finally go and see her okay.
It's a lot for someone to take in because this is your baby sister. You have two other sisters, but this is your 3-year-old sister that was playing. How long was she underwater?
Only like 20 seconds or less.
So it happened so quick.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, oh, I'm okay. It takes like a minute. They'll be fine. They know how to swim. Really, like, it happens so quick. You don't even know what happens until you see them. And if you're too late, you're too late.
How did you know what to do?
Well, it kind of just clicked. Like, I'm a big brother, and I know I have to help her, so I just knew I had to help her.
You're every mother's dream because that is a big deal. Whenever you say it just clicked, what does that mean?
Well, it means, like, kind of, I just knew I had to help her, and I had to do everything I could, so that was CPR.
Did you know CPR up until that point?
I had no clue, really. I mean, I've heard of it, but I've never had any lessons or anything. And I just had my babysitter, Kristen, coach me through it, and I just had to do every step, and we got her back.
Was there ever a moment that you thought, I can't do this, I can't handle it? Because you were how old at the time?
I was only 11. And
Only 11.
I knew I had to help her. Like, I just was trying to stay calm. Like, I know I've always learned to stay calm, and whenever there's an emergency, so just try to stay calm and try to perform CPR.
So when all this happened that day, you performed CPR. Did you perform until the first responders got there?
Yeah, and then the paramedics got her and brought her to the ambulance and brought her to the hospital.
At that point, did you know she was going to be okay?
Well, yes, because they're professionals, and if I can do CPR, they can do it even better. So.
Did you have a peace of mind when they arrived at the pool?
Well, I saw the flashing lights, and like I said, I was really happy, and I couldn't wait for Haley to be okay at the hospital.
Was Haley responsive at all at that point? Was she your sister, or was she just surviving?
Well, she was surviving, and she started coughing after a while of the CPR, and until the paramedics got there.
What was that cough like for you?
It was nice. It was happy. It was amazing that I knew I would have my sister back.
So she gets to the hospital. Did you go to the hospital that day, or did you wait?
Well, I kind of waited because I didn't want to see her not okay. I wanted to wait till she was okay and responsive.
When you got to the hospital, did you tell her, I saved your life?
No, I was just, hi, Haley, how are you? I was just super happy she was okay.
You are such a good big brother. What would you want our viewers at home to know about what you did? Like, do you want them to know CPR? Do you want them to know to wear floaties? Like, what would you want them to know about that day?
Well, yeah, I wear floaties, and CPR is really important. I mean, like me, you just have to know how to do it. You don't even need to take major lessons. You just need to know how to do it, because even just doing it barely can really help people. It can save lives.
And then you have been deemed a hero. What was the award you got?
It was the Best Big Brother Award.
Who gave you it?
It was the fire department and the paramedics.
Do you believe you're the best big brother?
Sometimes.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on the set. And it was CPR that saved Haley's life, and we wanted to ask you at home, do you know CPR?
My CPR knowledge comes from the show The Office, so basically I know that you're supposed to give chest compressions to the beat of Staying Alive, so staying alive, staying alive. I probably should have got that knowledge or like some more extensive knowledge in school or like health class, but it has really never come up and I've never actually had to use it, so therefore I've never had any like formal training or anything.
I don't know CPR, but if I had the opportunity to, I would, because once I was in my school cafeteria and someone was choking on a piece of food and I really didn't have that knowledge. If you're ever found in a circumstance where you do need it, like, it's very helpful in your daily life because you never know when something will happen. And yeah, it's just very important.
I do know CPR, but I did forget it. About 8 years ago, my sister had twins and they were in the incubator, and before we took them home, we had to learn how to give them CPR and, like, you know, just in case, because they had the breathing machines and, you know, but I was certified for it, but I think it only lasted 2 or 3 years, and I did kind of forget it.
I work in the restaurant industry, so I think it would come in handy if there was a customer who maybe choked on their food or had some type of food allergy and something happened and they needed to get a piece of corn out of their throat or a piece of meat out of their throat.
No, I don't know any CPR. It would be nice to know because I work at a pool over the summer and I work as a cashier, so it would be nice to like step in and help the guards if they need it.
I do know CPR because I learned it in high school in health class, and it's good that I know it because I babysit little kids, and if they ever needed it, it's good that I know it.
Get social with us. Make your voice heard. Submit your video on WhitneyReynolds.com. Our next guest is well known when it comes to swimming. Michael Phelps has stood on the platform winning over 20 gold medals for Team USA. And now he's making his platform today's topic.
So Michael, why is drowning one of the leading causes of death among our children?
Honestly, it's just, I think the hardest thing is just really being able to try to get as many people as we can to be comfortable in the water. I think it's just something that we all just need help getting over sometimes, and I think you find that people just are uncomfortable in the water and they kind of freak out, and the biggest, like our biggest thing is trying to get them as comfortable, as relaxed in the water as they can, so they can become water safe, and I think that's something that is very important and that everybody should have.
And this is Little Boomer. So with kids, is it more important for parents or kids to know water safety first, or is it like a catch-22?
It's probably both. Obviously being a parent now, where he's in the stage where he's going to start walking very, very, very soon. We have a plan set up for water safety around the pool. We have a pool in our backyard, so we're trying to find the right plan to, whether it's put a fence around the pool in the back or put a netting over the fence. If he does go outside, he is very safe around the pool, but also just so he knows how to swim. Just being able to float and survive, I think, is the biggest thing.
And what are the biggest solutions for people looking to resolve drownings?
It's just really, like I said, just being able to feel comfortable in the water, I think, is something that for me as a kid, I didn't have. So I started on my back.
Okay.
Boomer is the direct opposite, where he can't stand being on his back and always wants to be on his stomach. So everybody learns differently, and I think just being able just to be safe, whether it's around a pool, a lake, or an ocean, to hopefully save as many lives as we can.
Because there's water everywhere.
Everywhere.
And kids walk and run everywhere.
Yes.
Just to know more.
It's very exciting, and we have a lot of really amazing stuff going on, and being able to reach and save over 16,000 kids is a great start, and hopefully we can have and reach a lot more.
Anything else you want to leave our viewers with?
Hopefully he swims. He'll know how to swim.
I was going to say, you think he'll be a future swimmer?
If he wants to swim, he can, and I support anything that he wants. But I would, as a dad, I would say I'd be Yeah.
I just might take him and make him a triplet of mine. Yeah.
I would say I would rather be like super greedy and ask for a really good golfer. It's one of Daddy's passions. So, but you know, he's going to be his own person, and I think that's something that, you know, I can thank my mom so much for, just being able to support me through everything, which we're doing.
Right. And your mom was big on teaching you about water safety.
That's the only reason why we ever got in the pool, and you know, if I would have thought 20 some years ago it would turn into this, I would have probably said she was crazy, but you know, anything can happen, and I was able to have a great support team, and just being able to reach all my goals has been so incredible.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining us. Boomer, thank you too. Yes, thank you too.
If you're happy and you know.
As we were looking at this topic, there were many stories that we came across that the ending was not like Haley's. In fact, this topic, drowning, is one of the leading causes of death for our children. However, it can be prevented. Today, we hope, is a conversation starter for your family. Oh yeah, and as for Haley, we did have her on set. And since this incident, she has hopped back in the water and is not afraid to go to the swimming pool. Here's what she had to say. So tell me about what that day was like for you. Do you know what happened?
I don't remember.
Do you remember that it was a scary day? Who saved your life that day?
Sam.
Sam, and what would you like to say to him?
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Haley, for joining us. Give everyone a big wave at home.
As you heard from today's guest, CPR saves lives. And just like Sam, you never know when you might be called into action. Let's take a look at some life-saving steps.
You arrive on the scene. Check the scene for safety. Check the child for consciousness. Gently tap the shoulder and shout.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
If no response, call 911 immediately.
You, call 911.
If the child is lying on their stomach, turn them over onto their back. They should be lying on a hard, flat surface. Check for breathing and signs of life. Watch their chest for any normal movement. Look for signs of life and breathing for no more than 10 seconds. No breathing or signs of life, begin CPR. Position the heel of one hand on the center of the child's chest. Place your other hand on top. With your elbows locked and arms straight, lean over the child's chest and compress the chest 2 inches in depth 30 times.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
After 30 compressions, give breaths. Give breaths by tilting the head back, lifting the chin, and pinching the nose. Place your mouth over theirs and give 2 slow, gentle breaths, just enough to make their chest rise. Continue with 30 compressions and 2 breaths.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
Continue CPR until you see signs of life, another rescuer takes over, or help arrives.
For more information on today's show, visit WhitneyReynolds.com.
Go beyond the interview with our 52-week guide of inspiration. The book goes deeper with the stories you see right here on The Whitney Reynolds Show. To order your copy for $12.95 plus shipping and handling, go to WhitneyReynolds.com/store. The Whitney Reynolds Show is supported by Children's Learning Place, excellence in early childhood education since 1998, educating Chicago's children for 20 years. And the Auto Barn Mazda of Evanston and Chicago, the Auto Barn Mazda, where driving matters. Special thanks to the Illinois chapter of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, Dr. Daftari and the team at Art of Modern Dentistry, Kevin Kelly with Jameson Sotheby's International Realty, STI Movers, Mazda, Chicago Andrea Creative, and Cellular Intelligence.